Welcome back to WBGU Cooks. We are here with another Falcon Foodie, BGSU dining chef Austin Rozelle. Chef, what are we going to do today?
So today we're going to do a little bit of knife skills, and what we're going to do to kind of show off those knife skills is we're actually going to make Pico De Gallo. So it's a really simple, easy thing to make, and it's kind of a nice learning experience because we've got some round objects, we've got some flat objects, so it's kind of a nice, well-rounded way to learn some nice, easy knife skills.
And I think this will be very helpful for our viewers because it's one of those things, even if you cook a lot, doesn't mean you know how to use a knife.
No, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Which could be a dangerous thing.
Very much so, yeah.
Speaking of which, you were going to talk about some knife safety.
Yeah. I think a good rule of thumb, especially for any home cook, you should have at least 2 really nice knives. Okay. The first of which is just a really nice chef's knife. So what we have here, this one is a 6-inch chef's knife. You can get these anywhere from 6 inches, you can get them up to 12, even 14, depending on the manufacturer. But one of these is kind of your standard go-to. Use it for anything kind of a knife. Got it. The other knife, I don't have one with me here today, but a really nice knife to have as well is a really nice paring knife, which is, you can use them for peeling small things or cutting small things, but those two are really kind of the perfect staple knives for any home kit. And you should maybe
spend a little bit more than you normally.
Yes, definitely. It's not something.
But you'll have them forever.
Yeah, and that's the thing is if you really want to get into it, you can get online and find the knife that's right for you.
Got it.
So.
Are we ready to start cutting?
Yeah, let's get into it. So I'm gonna set this off to the side here. So the first thing that we're gonna get into is we're gonna go ahead and just start with a tomato. This here, I've just got a beefsteak tomato. But you can use either a beefsteak or a Roma. They're about the same. Really, it's just the amount of juice inside. And we're going to use a serrated knife for this. And as you'll notice, obviously this is round. It's kind of hard to cut. So the easiest thing to do is roll it up on its side, and we're just going to cut off this top part that's got the stem here. And another thing, too, is when you hold your knife, so the easiest way to do it, and it's kind of awkward at first, but you take your thumb and your index finger and you actually pinch on the actual blade itself, okay? And then you take your remaining fingers and you wrap them around your handle.
Okay.
And this is going to give you the most control because you can kind of tuck that handle into your wrist. And the thing you see a lot of times is you'll see people that kind of cut like this, or they put this finger up here, and you lose a lot of control when you do that. That's when your slips happen, and bad things usually happen from there. So if you do it like this, everything is kind of tucked in. You don't have to worry about it. And the other thing too is your hand that isn't using your knife, we like to refer to it as kind of like the claw or the C. So you kind of just make a C with your hand, or think of like the claw machines at like a bowling alley, and you kind of set it on top, and you want to tuck your fingertips back a little bit, okay? And what we're going to do is we're actually going to take our knife, and it's going to set right against our knuckle, okay? And that's going to kind of give us a guide for when we do our cutting, and as well, what it's going to do is it's going to make sure that our fingers are back, we don't cut off our tips, anything like that happens. So now that we've got this first, we've got a nice flat surface that we can cut with. So now I don't have to worry about it going anywhere. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through and go and cut slices here. So I'm going to kind of jump over this bottom side here. So that's going to be a little bit of a bigger cut. And then same thing for this. I'm actually going to go and just kind of cut this little bottom piece off here and set that off to the side again. Use it for your compost. Now you can cut it as big or as small as you like. It really just kind of depends. So for example, with the tomato, I like to make that, that's, to me, is kind of the most important part of your Pico De Gallo. So I like to make that a little bit larger. And the other thing too is you have to think of what you're using it for. So if we're using it for something as like a garnish on a taco, you might want to go a little bit smaller. However thick you want to cut it, because at the end of the day when it comes to cooking, there are guidelines, but there aren't a lot of rules. I think that's a lot of misconception that people don't have.
And that's what we like to try and show our viewers. That, especially, we were talking earlier, you can go out and buy a jar of salsa, pico.
Yes, absolutely.
But it's easy to make it fresh, and it just tastes so much better.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not the same, when you make it. And the one thing is that first time you make it, you'll never want to buy it again.
Yes.
Another thing that we're going to do is we're going to do an onion. I'm going to use a red onion this time. You don't have to use red. You can use any onion that you like. Same thing. It's it's a very round kind of awkward object. So for this, I'm actually going to use our chef's knife. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it off to the side, and I'm going to cut off this top part. Depending on the style of onion you buy and how your grocer does it, some onions have a lot of extra skin on the outside, and some don't. This one I actually peeled a little bit beforehand. But there is still a little layer, and I'll actually go through and
It's kind of waxy, right?
Yeah,
is that what you were...
So I'll go through and kind of peel it. And the thing is it's kind of misleading because I didn't get all the way through here. It's kind of misleading because on part of the onion, it'll look, you know, like it's completely fine to use, and then you get further along, and it's got this kind of awkward, chewy skin to it, and it's not really something that you want to eat. So
you want to make sure to get down into the meat of the onion.
So usually
you feel like you're wasting it, but it
I mean,
won't cut right anyway, and it won't taste good.
It's not something you really want to eat. So now that I've cut off that top end, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to leave this kind of hairy part on the bottom here, and this is actually the root of the onion. And I'm actually just going to go through, I'm going to cut it in half. And then the reason I left this root on is this is going to kind of hold everything together for me for this onion. And it'll make cutting it a lot easier. Because a lot of times you watch your cutting shows and, you know, they cut an onion 20 different ways just to do something. It's really not necessary. Because if you leave that root end on there, and you'll kind of look, it's hard to see right now for the viewers, but there's actually these kind of natural little like nooks and crannies in this onion. And if we follow those when we go through and cut, so we're just going to go around our onion.
And again, you have your claw.
Yep. And then what you're doing is you're just kind of going through, and we don't want to go all the way through to that root end, okay? You want to stop just before it, and we're just going to kind of follow that natural curve of our onion. And again, you can cut this as large or as small as you like. We're just going to go all the way around here.
You make it look so simple.
I've cut an onion or two in my time.
I need to go home and practice.
Yeah. So now that we've got these little, you know, these kind of fingers, if you will, again, we're just going to do a 90-degree turn, and then we're just going to go the opposite direction. And then if you'll look, once we kind of get that initial cut, you've got a nice
already because of the way the onion,
diced onion because of the way the onion is. People on television, they're like, oh, you have to cut it, you know, this way and this way, and it's a lot more work than you need to do. So, but we're just going to go through. I'm going to run through and cut this onion here real quick so we've got it for our Pico De Gallo here. And again, once you get to that root end, you can go through and kind of trim around there. This part you obviously don't want to eat, and then just save it for your compost. So I'm going to set this into this bowl here. And another thing too, that as you can see, I'm using the knife to kind of scoop things into my hand. If you're not comfortable doing it, that's not necessary.
Now they have scrapers.
They make like little plastic scrapers that are always great for that, especially again if you're cooking with kids. That's not necessarily something you want them doing. But we've got our onion there. And the next thing I want to touch on is our pepper. So today we're going to use a jalapeno pepper. That's just for a little bit of heat. But the other thing too that I think people don't understand is you don't have to use what I would think of as kind of like a spicy pepper. You could always use bell pepper so you get that same flavor and texture, but you don't get that heat. However, what you can do is you can go through and actually kind of take out a lot of the heat because the majority of the heat inside your pepper is actually in the seeds.
So if you wanted the heat, you would leave the seeds.
Right. So like what we'll do is we'll kind of go and cut our stem off, and then I'm going to kind of hold it on its side and pinch around it, and then just kind of come down the middle and cut it in half. And then all of these seeds in here is where the majority of your heat is. So what we can do is we're going to go and just kind of take your finger and kind of scrape that out, and we'll just set it off to the side here again for our compost. So now that I've got this cut in half, again, I'm going to put that skin side down, okay? And again, we're just going to cut it into long strips. Now, when I do a jalapeno, I like to cut it pretty small. And I do it for a couple reasons. One, I feel like I get a little bit more of a distribution of that heat. And the other reason is I'm similar to you, I'm not a huge spice guy. Like, I'm not. And the thing is there's a very fine line between flavor and just
I agree.
Overkill.
Some people that just want the hotter the better. I don't understand.
No, not for me. Not
to each his own.
Right, right. No, definitely not for me.
And actually, I'm getting. That's why I like that you are cutting them smaller because then you can, get some of the flavor and not necessarily feel.
And the thing too is, when I went through and cut these, something smaller like this. What you actually do is you actually leave your knife on your board and you kind of do like a rocking motion, okay? So the tip of your knife stays on and it's just kind of a down and forward and back again. Think of kind of like an old train, you know what I mean? Where you kind of like the bars that keeps on the wheels. It's kind of like that, you know? So that's the motion that you want to go for.
And I suppose the more you do this, the better. You see some people, that are really...
just like anything in life, I mean, it's practice. It's a lot of practice. So, and then the last thing that we're going to cut here is I've got a little bit of fresh cilantro here. And the one thing that I personally really love about cilantro, and I don't think a lot of people know this, is cilantro actually is one of the few herbs where you can use the stem.
I was going to ask about that because it's hard to get all the
Yes, it's a lot of work to go through and kind of pick each one. And cilantro is one of those herbs where there's a lot of great flavor in the stem, and the stem is actually somewhat we'll say tender. So you don't have one of those things where if you were to use like basil or something like rosemary, where it's like you're chewing on a tree branch kind of a thing. Now, granted, you don't want to use all of it. So what you can do is once kind of where your leaves start to finish off and that stem starts, just go through and kind of twist it. And then what you do with your herbs is you just kind of bunch them all together, okay? And we just kind of make a tight little package here. And again, we're just going to kind of put our knife right against our knuckle and just back and forth. And we're going to just kind of scoot our hand backwards. And it's one of those things where if you're not comfortable doing that, you can always kind of stop and move your hand and then keep going. So, but we're going to go through and just kind of work over this.
And you probably just keep cutting until you get the fine, whatever you want.
Yeah, exactly. So you could leave it like this if you want really coarse, or if you want a little finer, what you can do is you actually just set your knife down, take your other hand and set it on top of your knife like this, and you just, same motion, and what you do is you just kind of rock back and forth through your herb.
Now I have a question about cilantro and washing it, and because I've done this before and it's a wet mess. So the one thing, cilantro especially, is a very wet herb. And the one thing too is, unlike a lot of other herbs, cilantro actually can bruise very easily. So what happens if I were to sit here and keep cutting and cutting and cutting and cutting, eventually it would almost get a black color to it. And it's super unappetizing. It doesn't taste any different, it just doesn't look as nice. So what the easiest way to do it is when you get it at the grocery store and it comes in that little bundle, take it out of that bundle and run it under some cool water. And then the easiest thing that I find is some paper towels or like a kitchen towel, just kind of spread it out in there and then just pat it dry. Is the easiest way to do it. So it should be dry.
Yes. You don't want it to be, you don't want to like sit it out in your kitchen for like a week so it dries.
It's a very finicky herb. I mean, I've tried growing it and it just...
Yeah, cilantro is, it's definitely something that is, I by no means have a green thumb. This is one thing that I can't do is like grow herbs. But cilantro is definitely a little bit more temperamental than most.
Definitely.
So, but now that we've got this ready to go, now comes the easiest part, and it's just putting it all together.
So do you want to talk about garlic for a minute?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I actually forgot about that. Thank you.
Okay.
So another thing too is garlic. Yeah, so garlic, when you get it at the store, it comes, a nice little bulb like this. It's got all this paper around here. And you kind of like, what do I do? How do I get this all out of here? So first thing is when you get it, just kind of push down on it. And what that'll do is that'll actually cause all of these cloves to pop off. And then you can take that, and now that you have your cloves, again, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna go and just kind of set your knife on it real flat and just kind of give it a little whack. And what that'll do is that'll actually split that paper on there, and you can just go through.
So you end up with what you need to end up with.
Yep, exactly. You peel all that paper off, and then you've got a nice clove of garlic. And the other thing too that's really nice is when you do that, it smashes it down, because I've got some here that you'll see. It's very round and kind of awkward. So once you've got it smashed down like this, and I'll do this one as well really quick here, is once it's smashed down, you've got a nice, broad, easy, flat surface that you can cook on again, or you can cut on rather. So now that we've got that, same thing as everything else, but this one is going to be more like our herb where I'm not worried about it being too fancy. I really just want to kind of break it down. So I'm just going to kind of run my knife through it one way, and then I'm going to just kind of scoot it into a nice little pile, and then go back and forth with it and just kind of cut it down. So, and as you'll notice, I'm not being too overly clean with my garlic getting into my cilantro, because we're all going to put it together. So it's okay. This is one of those things where it's okay to be a little bit messy. You don't have to be too clean about it, since it's all going to kind of go together.
Well, before we put all this together, I thought we'd talk a minute about the teaching kitchen here at BGSU.
Yeah, absolutely. So the one thing that's really nice about the teaching kitchen that I don't think a lot of people realize is it's not just for students or faculty and staff. We've actually, throughout the summer, we're going to the farmers market and reaching out to the community, because anyone can come. We just go to our website for bgsudining.com. You can go on there and sign up. We have a calendar with all the classes we offer, the costs associated, the time, the menu, who's teaching it, super informative. And then there's also a contact page. So we've done a handful of professors on the university. We've done some private events for them, some birthday parties. We've done kids' birthday parties.
Because there are kids' classes as well.
Yeah,
so
we do tons of stuff.
It's really a fun time, and you learn things.
Yes.
I mean, it's amazing. We saw earlier the tacos. That's Joe so
yes.
he got something out of that class.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a lot of fun.
So let's go ahead, and the easiest thing now is, like I said, it's just kind of putting everything together. So we've got some diced tomatoes there. Go ahead. So we're gonna do some diced tomatoes. We've got our diced red onion here as well.
We're gonna just add
Yep, you can go ahead and do everything in there.
Probably not salt and pepper.
Yeah. So what we're gonna do is we've got, we'll just do a little bit of, I'll do this since you don't have the glove on. We're just gonna do just a little bit of jalapeno in there, and we can always go back and add more. So I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna put our garlic in here. And then a little bit of our cilantro.
The fresh ingredients are just, you just can't beat it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
and again, once you make this at home, you're not going to want to go and buy it again. What I think people don't realize is it's really not that hard.
It isn't.
I've got some fresh squeezed lime juice here. And again, this is one of those things where it's, kind of what you want. So I put in probably about 3 tablespoons there. We can always go back and add in. We can't always take it out. So, so we've got that. Here's a spatula. If you want to kind of give that a go for me real quick. And then the last thing that we'll do is a little bit of salt and pepper in there at the very end. So now the one thing that's really nice about this is, much like, a lot of things that you make at home, especially like soups and stews, things like that, if you were to make this the night before and then eat it, the next day, it's a whole nother world of flavor, because those flavors can sit together, they meld together. You get a little bit of that, the acid from that lime juice kind of brings out some of that natural flavor in those tomatoes, and it's just a whole nother thing to enjoy. So it's always one of those things you can make it the night ahead of time, right before a party.
That's always a plus.
Oh yes, absolutely. A little less work for the day of.
So how much salt and pepper would you add?
So again, personal preference really. So I usually do pepper, I go a little bit shy on. So I'm thinking, maybe just a little pinch. We're talking not even an 1/8 of a teaspoon kind of a situation. And then I do a little bit heavier on the salt, so I'm thinking more of like maybe not a tablespoon, I'm sorry, a teaspoon or so. Just a little bit in there. So, and again, we can always go back and add in if we'd like after the fact.
Which is the best part about cooking, is you can do it the way you want to. And that's what I would say. If I'm cooking, it's going to be the way I want it.
Yeah, and that's, at the end of the day, you have to think you're cooking for yourself and for your audience.
So I'm going to try this.
Yeah, absolutely.
This just looks yummy. And great flavor.
Yeah.
You can taste the cilantro. The onions aren't too bad.
No, and again, it's one of those things where if you're not a big onion person, you don't even have to put it in there. You can always put a little bit less.
And I didn't really taste the jalapenos either.
Yeah. See, it's by cutting it smaller, you kind of distribute it throughout, and it's a lot more of getting that flavor. Since we got those seeds out, we don't have a lot of that heat.
It's just so fresh. Thank you so much for coming on, Chef Austin.
Absolutely.
And thank you, viewers, for watching this episode of WBGU Cooks. To watch this program and other episodes online, or to make a donation to WBGU-TV, head to WBGU.org. See you next time.